Hey, what is up, boys? It is Lynn the Gacha Goblin, and okay, let's talk about being free to play and a low spender in Love and Deep Space. I came across this video here on YouTube by Latte and Foam, and they were talking about the end of free to play in Love and Deep Space. They were sharing their opinion about it, and I found their opinion to be a little bit inaccurate in one way or another. I will explain, but let's watch what they say, so that way you have the full context of what is actually their opinion, and then we'll interject here and there. Okay, so let me just get off the screen. Okay.
Because there has been like so many people gushing about how it's free to play and they don't really have to spend that much. So is it that they're reaching a certain point in the storyline of the main story that it's becoming impossible to move forward?
Yeah, basically it's saying that you have to go through this. It's almost like you have to level up your characters. It's impossible to go through it, or like there's certain cards that saying it only unlocks the lore this way, and people are saying it's so hard to get, or if you're missing an event, you won't ever, like, you can't get it until it comes back again, making it no longer fun or free to play because you now have missed an opportunity because you didn't spend the money, which is kind of their whole point and hope. So some of the comments here: the game is pretty good, the graphics and all, but my problem is how lacking it is. Getting resources in the game is practically impossible, and getting gems as a later player, you can only do the senior hunter contest. Mismanagement and greed. As a company, two of your love interests are missing swabs of content, making players disgruntled. Lack of communication, things like that. Into your fan base. This game has so much potential to be amazing, but they refuse to listen to their fan base. I've been playing gacha games for years. I've never seen one that makes it so impossible to farm for resources. And that was actually the common comment.
And there was one particular tweet that gained a lot of traction to make us look into this.
From the tweet directly, it was just saying, in LADS's case, the game is not fair for free to play at all. Critical lore ends up locked behind a paywall, and farming materials is so abysmal without paying that it takes ages to level up and rank up cards, completely restricting the capacity to fairly engage in combat and farm to begin with. Traction like no other, and a lot of players came to say, I'm not even free to play, it takes me forever to level up my cards. This game is really unfair if you don't spend ridiculous amounts of money. As a regular spender, this is so true because I got so frustrated with grinding no progress that I spent 20 plus US dollars this week. I was too stressed and impulsive, and I know that it's not a whale level, but you can literally buy full games for that money, and I'm still stuck. Which is what we've always said. I feel like what makes a game fun is the going into it, and lots of games can still make a lot of money with the 3D models, with all of that stuff. We think about games like all of the Mario series or the Kirby series. Like, those games are full games you buy out at once that are $60. God forbid when they go up. But either way, and those are $1 million company games. Like Pokemon, I'm not saying that they don't come out with lots of them, but you can make money. Gacha is, in my opinion, like almost a quick way to make exchange, and then it burns itself out and then it goes away. We've seen this with A3, we've seen this with Obey Me, you kind of see this with Mr. Love. Like, they just only have so much of a shelf life. But the problem is, Love and Deep Space came out the gate with something so innovative, so you would think that they would listen to their fan base and say, how can we do this? I think this would be great as a freaking console game with lots of DLC.
I do too. Like, when you look at the Atelier series or like Final Fantasy, even Story of Seasons, although Story of Seasons doesn't have a ton of DLC, but it does have some. These are really well-respected franchises that make a lot of money by releasing good games that have a wrapped-up storyline and lots of DLC. And I don't see why not. They have all the resources to do that, and I don't know. My opinion on this, it might sound a little...
Okay, before we jump into her opinion about gacha games in general, let's just talk about the flip of a coin here. Say that Love and Deep Space becomes released as a console game with the business model of having the base game and then DLCs released afterwards. So this is not, first and foremost, this is not going to work with Love and Deep Space, primarily on the fact that this game makes money because of all of the memories that come out, and the fact that, there is a very long wait time for main story updates. When you have the base game, if you think about Love and Deep Space without the banners, and if you think about how long it takes for them to release the main story updates, that's what you're gonna get on a console game. Yes, the quality is amazing. Yes, it's 3D animated, but they're not going to release that much main story in a game, and a lot of it is actually very text heavy. If you're saying that it should turn into like a visual novel style, it is possible you can turn the anecdotes into that or the world underneath, but a lot of the content, a lot of the lore is a bunch of reading. So this DLC or this base console game would end up being a book on a screen that you would have to read through. And I don't know who would really want to play that, unfortunately. And the fact that releasing DLCs takes a long time, and if you're wanting to monetize off of those, a company would much rather, like Infold, of course, would much rather be a gacha game that relies on FOMO and basically bleeds you dry for money because, they're like, oh, check out this banner. And after a week, another banner comes out. And instead of just paying, say, $50, $60 for a DLC or upwards to $80, I guess, I think that's like the most, you would see that people are they're dropping like $300 just for like the cards on a banner to rank 3 them or to rank 2 them, get the special outfit and all of these things. Like a company would much rather be this gacha company to make more money, as opposed to being a console game that doesn't make that much money, and has maybe like a high ticket price on the base game. And again, Love and Deepspace doesn't really have that much base game. It doesn't really have that much content in it. That's not to say that a company in the future can't make something like that. Like, somebody could make something like that, but Love and Deepspace specifically cannot do that. Like, it's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna work out. But if somebody reworked the system, somebody added more content into the base game, I don't know, make it like a resource management kind of game, I think a lot of people would really love that. A resource management Otome game would be a huge hit, and I would even play that. But like like Love and Deepspace is never gonna turn into that, unfortunately. But I'm all for somebody actually doing the Love and Deepspace console version, because I'm just talking about it now and it sounds like an amazing idea, and I think that's what they're saying here. But unfortunately, there is no equivalent, and there's also no other options for a game like Love and Deepspace that has the 3D animations, the kind of aesthetic and the lore aspect of the game, that we can kind of like switch over to and be 100% like one-to-one comparison. So unfortunately, that is not the case. And I don't know what their background in gacha gaming is. I don't know if they've played like, other games besides Otome games. I mean, if you take a look at their channel, I believe that they only really play Otome games. That's what their podcast is about. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't really see any other content on their channel. Again, they could have their each individual channels. Maybe they're talking about other things there. But from what I see, they're only really doing Otome games. And yeah, they have done MLQC, but it looks like it was only for a few videos, not that many. It's not like their main focus. And by the way that they talk about gacha games, they clearly don't like gacha, which I understand. A lot of Westerners don't like gacha games. But that being said, I don't know if they know that there are gacha games out there that can be played completely free to play. Yes, there's more time investment into those games, a lot more grinding, but at least there is something to grind. You know what I'm saying? Love and Deepspace doesn't really have anything. They keep adding all of these new banners, the rerun banners, but they don't give us more ways of farming for diamonds, which is very unfortunate. And also the new things that they're bringing out into the game, like new wardrobe and all of these things, you have to purchase with crystals, which is the one-to-one to being real money because you have to top up. So it's not something that you can grind for in-game anyway. And the fact that this is not like structured as an open world gacha game or semi-open world or a world where you can explore and do missions and stuff and get some diamonds from those, it's not a friendly grinding game. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing that gives us more diamonds in this game. Whereas opposed to like Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves or Honkai Star Rail, ZZZ actually has a lot of ways of grinding for resources in that game too. So there are ways of adding endgame into gachas that make it easier for free-to-plays to grind for diamonds. It's not the perfect solution because you're still going to end up having to skip banners because you won't be able to gain enough currency and whatnot, but at least there is a reasonable timeline of when you can have enough diamonds to pull on a banner, right? Because in like Honkai Star Rail, you would need to wait maybe gosh, 2 months, but with Love and Deepspace you have to wait like 5 to 6 months before you have enough. It's the timeline is incredibly, it's so much longer and so much more difficult, and in the time frame of those like 5 to 6 months that you're grinding for resources in Love and Deepspace, you're missing out on like 4 to 5 banners, 3 to 4 banners every month. So you're missing a lot of cards, you're missing a lot of memories that have a lot of lore behind them sometimes, and it just feels horrible as a free to play player. Now, it would be nice if they added something into the game that gave us more diamonds. It would be nice if they gave us something where we could grind more resources. But all of the comments that you were showing on the screen, it's not main story blocked or main story locked or any way, shape, or form. In fact, the main story only really updates every 5 to 6 months, which is crazy. But it is more on like the content are the banners, you know what I'm saying? And if you miss out on the banners, then you have no content in the game, which is very unfortunate. Now let's just watch what she says, continuing on here.
A little bit harsh, but I feel like if you're somebody who is championing it for being free to play, I'm confused why you ever thought they catered to you, because the whole point of the game is to make money. Like, Gacha is unabashedly predatory in my opinion, and to ever think that they would be making decisions to support a player base that doesn't pay them doesn't make any sense logically. Of course they want to capture as many of you as possible in the beginning and then break you down eventually to pay. I think that's the ultimate goal.
So let us know in the
Okay, so this is the common misconception about gacha games where free-to-play players don't matter to a company, or like low spenders don't matter to a company. A lot of people have this misconception. That's why a lot of people say that, you know, free-to-play players or low spenders are entitled for asking for more stuff and whatever. And yes, there is of course a line where, you know, people can be asking for ridiculous things like everything being free, give us all of the 5 stars. Like, that's never gonna happen. But there can be a middle ground. There can be balance between what free-to-plays can get and what whales can get. And if you're gonna say something like why would the game cater to free-to-play players, then why would the game only focus on giving free-to-play friendly rewards during the anniversary? There is a reason why you have to pay attention to your free-to-play players and your low spenders, because they're the ones who build the retention in the game. You have whales, yes, they can fund for a lot of things in the game. They can come in. They don't need to log in every single day because they don't need to. They can, of course. Some people, of course, do. But the amount of whales, too, in the space it's a very small percentage. And a company and a corporation cannot just depend on the whales to make them money. They also need investors. And the investors will put down money for the game if they can see that there is a huge player retention rate in a gacha game, and that retention rate is coming from the free-to-play players and the low spenders in the game. I actually wrote a comment here And I said, in regard to lads, all players need to be respected. Whales make up a very small percentage of the mass player base across all regions. Yes, they offer a lot of revenue for the game. However, in terms of operating as a business, investors need retention players. Whales can be retention players, however, they can quit as easily as they spend. They're not typically the ones who log in daily, with some exceptions, of course, because they can just buy what they need. Free-to-play and low spenders, however, need to log in every day to grind what little resources they can in order to participate in banners and packages, etc. They are the ones pushing the player retention, and they are the numbers that potential investors want to see. Mistreating your low spenders or free-to-play players does no good for a company. Now, that's not to say that everything needs to be free in lads. In fact, I argue that some things need to be paywalled, like banners, for it to operate as a gacha. However, the grinding for diamond resources and leveling up experience is utter hell and needs to be rebalanced. It's far too money hungry for it to be sustainable in the long run for free-to-play and low spenders. Many people are already quitting the game because of the grueling player experience, and now people are quitting because of how poorly they treat their player base in LANs and in Infinity Nikki. Infold is now infamously one of the worst gacha companies out there, with all the news surrounding Infinity Nikki, which, if you ask me, is deserved. At least Hoyo pretends to care about its players. LMAO. And I had this really good reply back here by Mink, I don't know how to say this name. Mink Evil Theusen? My god, I'm so sorry. You've made some really valid points here, especially about the importance of player retention for short-term spendings. Whales undeniably contribute a significant portion of revenue, but as you rightly said, they aren't the ones driving daily engagement or community activity. The health of any gacha game ecosystem depends on free-to-play and low spenders who consistently log in, participate in events, and keep the community alive on social media platforms. I also agree that grinding in lads feels unnecessarily punishing right now. When progression feels like it's gated almost entirely behind paywalls or excessive grind, it discourages long-term investment from the broader player base. And in a live service game, long-term investment is what keeps the game sustainable. It's true that not everything should be free. This is a gacha game after all. But there's a balance between monetization and player experience. And right now it feels like lads, and by extension Infold, hasn't quite found that balance. If they want to build a loyal community, they need to address these concerns, because no amount of flashy banners or cosmetics can make up for the game that feels exploitative or dismissive to its core players. As for Infinity Nikki, yeah, hopefully all this feedback pushes them to reevaluate how they treat their communities. We don't expect miracles, but we do expect respect. And this is so important. Like, people who play gacha games, we, for the most part, if you're experienced in gacha, we understand the risks that we're taking playing this game. And a smart gacha game player would, be free to play for as long as possible until something that they really, really want pops up in the game and they choose to spend money. Like, that's how it should be, because that's typically how, most players play the game, right? They play until they want something, then they buy it. And I don't know, like, we just want respect. Like, low spenders just want respect. I myself, I'm a dolphin. I spend quite a lot in the game. I'm not at the level of a whale. I don't have a VIP box coming my way anytime soon. But I would appreciate, the whole community being respected for loving the game and wanting the game to only thrive. That's why we give such harsh criticism, especially when we just want to see Love and Deepspace be known for being a good game and not for being a predatory game, because a lot of these games that are geared towards women are so predatory, and it's so bad. It's so bad. Infold is such a scummy, like, their executive team, the way that they handle their marketing, they're so bad. But when it comes to, like, development team, they make amazing content for their players, and I just feel so sad, that it's so sad all around, like, the player base doesn't feel respected. The dev team probably feels like, lost hope because they don't have control over the management of the game. It's not a good feeling, guys. It really isn't a good feeling. But yeah, the free-to-play players and low spenders are so important in a gacha game and its longevity. And if the game continues on the trajectory that it's going on right now, I don't know. I don't know how long people will continue to play this game, because the longer you play the game, the longer you realize maybe I shouldn't be spending money in this game because they just don't listen to us anymore. So yeah, that is pretty much it. That's my opinion. I don't know if you guys would agree. I would hope that everybody would agree that free-to-plays are, they should be respected. Low spenders should be respected. And for any whale out there who gloats about how much they spend and say that free-to-play players don't have an opinion or don't have the right to have an opinion, I hope that you guys lose all your 50-50s. Anyway. Yeah, that is pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching. I am Lynn the Gacha Goblin. Please leave your comments down below. Yeah, anyway, bye-bye.